Hi everyone, this is Sushant from UnityDevz. Welcome to our today's session on how to use GitHub. So before we begin, I'm going to brief you about the agendas in today's session so you can see the list of topics which we are going to cover. So let's get started with the first topic, for GitHub. So it is extremely important for the developers to work on a web-based platforms to share their projects and collaborate with other developers. So this platform is a version control system. So it means it will allow multiple developers to simultaneously work on a single project where each person edits his or her copy of the files and chooses when to share their changes with the rest of the team. The application must also be capable of hosting millions of programmers and code so that they can evaluate each other's code. So basically GitHub is one such platform of choice for developers that can host multiple programs and review their code. And for your information, GitHub has several competitors like GitLab, Bitbucket, Visual Studio, and etc. So one question arises from here. So what makes GitHub so popular, right? So it's not only the platform of its kind, but it is the most popular solutions today for hosting source code. So because it's easy to use, supports both public and private repositories, it's free of cost for most of the projects that operates on a small scale, supports all kind of programming languages. So till now, we know why we need to use GitHub. So moving onwards, we will understand what is GitHub basically. So basically, it's a Git repository hosting service, having the web-based graphical interface with multiple features. So a repository, basically what is a repository? A repository is used to organize a project. It can contain multiple folders, files, images, spreadsheet. For example, let's say a team wants to work on a particular project. So there they can simultaneously write and update their code to the central repository. So it is helpful where basically when more than one person is working on a project. So moving onwards, people usually confused like what is the difference between Git and GitHub. So let me explain in brief what's the difference between them. So as you can see this table, so it is clearly written. So basically Git is the tool and GitHub is the hosting service for Git repositories. So Git is something which is in your local. So whatever commits you do, whatever changes you do, Git Git shows you those changes in your local environment. And let's say you want to push that same code which is there in your local to the cloud. So there comes the GitHub. So GitHub is basically the hosting service for those Git repositories which are present in your local. So second point explains this thing. So you can see it is installed and maintained in local system, whereas GitHub is totally cloud based. So whatever code changes you did in your local, if you deploy your code like if you push those changes into the GitHub, so it means your changes are now pushed into the cloud and not in local. So it will be visible. If that repository is a public repository, it will be visible to all the developers across the world. So you can see Git is used to manage code history also, and Git is a service for project that uses Git. So okay, so it's open source. Git is open source, whereas GitHub, which is a hosting service, includes free and paid tier for large scale projects, I can say. So from this diagram, you can clearly understand what is the difference between GitHub and Git. So from this diagram, you can clearly understand what's the difference between GitHub and Git. So Git is something which is maintained in the local for showing the code history of that particular repository which is on which you are working. So from this diagram, you can see multiple developers are working. You can see the 4 developers are working on some local repository. So this repository is the same repository which is there in the GitHub. So developers cloned that repository, they copied that repository in their local, and they started working on it. So we need a GitHub basically. So Git is for local, right? Whatever code changes we do, it will show those differences in the local. So why we need a GitHub? So GitHub here basically plays the role of a central repository. Whatever code changes, let's say first developer did some changes, and at the same time third developer also did the changes, and they both want to push those changes into that particular code. So they cannot send those changes locally. It will be very difficult. So there comes GitHub. So it is a centralized platform, centralized repository where each and every developer can collaborate. They can commit their changes into that repository, and the code changes which developers did will be reflected onto that repository which is there in the GitHub. So for pushing the code changes, we have commits. There's a term called as commit, which is nothing but whatever changes you have in your local, if you want to push those changes into the GitHub, basically we do commit. And if we want to push those same changes into the cloud, we used to do a push, git push. There is a command called as git push. Using that command, we can push those changes from local to remote. We will understand more on this as we move onwards. We will do some POCs and we will understand more about this concept. So moving on to the next, how to use it basically. How to use GitHub. So before going to use GitHub, you should have a GitHub account. You need to download. So basically here I'm going to explain this GitHub topic with the help of a GitHub desktop. Not with, so there are multiple ways using which you can use GitHub. It can be either using a Git bash, it can be either using a GitHub desktop, it can be either using a source code. So there are multiple ways. So in this session I'm going to explain you with the help of GitHub desktop. So you should have GitHub desktop installed in your local. So in my case, you can see, so it is already installed, and I have few repositories cloned in my local on which I worked previously. Okay, so basically first you need to create a GitHub account. So that GitHub account you need to link with the GitHub desktop in your local. So you can go to the GitHub site first, GitHub, join GitHub, and from here you can create your account. So because I have my account already created, so that's why it's not showing here. So here there's a pop-up, there's a window of creating an account, so that you can use for creating the account. So after creating the account, you can see multiple options here. So because I already logged in, so you can see multiple options here for creating repository, for importing repository, right? And you can see the type of repositories. Repositories can be public, repositories can be private. So in private repositories, it means you will be having a dedicated team under which you need to work, and no one from outside can clone that repository. And opposite to that, it's public. Anyone can clone that. So it is public basically. Anyone can clone that repository in their local and start working on that. They can create their own branches. They can raise a pull requests. So these terms I will explain you as we move forward. So after creating an account, you need to create a repository, right? So let's create a repository. So if you click on here, create repository, you can give some repository name. So let's say or demo repository. Okay, I give it like this. So I want this repository to be a public. Okay, you can add readme file. Readme file is nothing but a summary of your repository. So that's it. So let's create a repository. So you can see in readme file, you can see this repository name. So if you want to edit this readme file and add some summary, you can add it by just clicking on this edit option. That's it. Using that, you can just edit it. So you can see this main branch, which by default it was already there. Okay, so what this main branch denotes to. But before that, we will understand what is branch. So before we understand how to create a branch, we will understand what is branch. So basically branches basically allows you to work on other features that can be included or merged to the master branch based on the requirement. So master branch or main branch basically where the code project code resides basically. So basically GitHub allows you to create additional branches, and on those additional branches you can work on the features that needs to be included in the code. And after working on the feature branches, you can merge it into the master branch or the main branch, which is this one. So basically this main branch or master branch contains the final code, right? Whatever changes the developers worked previously on other branches, so after working on those branches, developer will push those changes into the main branch, which contains the final code. So that's the use of this branch. We will understand more when we will do one POC on this. So as you can see, we created this demo repository. Now let's go to the slide and see what we are going to do now. So we created one sample code repository. Now we will see how we can clone that repository in our local. So basically we created that repository in the GitHub desktop, GitHub hosting, which is a hosting platform, a cloud hosting platform. There we created one repository, but let's say we have a dedicated team of 4 or 5 developers who wants to work on that repository. For that we need to clone that repository from there, right? So before cloning that repository, you should log in. You have to download GitHub desktop in your local, right? So I will provide you the link in the description. From there you can download that GitHub desktop. But for your understanding, let me show you from where you can download. So you just simply have to write GitHub desktop download. That's it. Okay, so from here you can click and download the GitHub desktop in your local, right? So after downloading, you need to log in with the same GitHub credentials which you used while creating the GitHub account. So whatever credentials you used while creating your GitHub account, same credentials you need to put there, so that you can link your GitHub account with your local GitHub desktop, so that you can collaborate with this repository. You can collaborate on the repository which we created, this one, because this repository belongs to this GitHub account. That's the reason you need to log in your GitHub desktop with this GitHub account, so that both are in sync and you can collaborate on this repository. Okay. Okay, so because I have already logged in, you can see, so I not need to. So to log in on the GitHub desktop, you need to go to the options, and here you can see a sign out option is there. Because I'm already signed in, so that's why I'm getting this sign out option. But if I was not logged in, you will get one sign in option here for github.com. So you can click on sign in, and after that you can put those credentials which you used while creating the GitHub account. That's it. So after cloning this repository, we need to create some branches. Let's say 4 developers are working, 5 developers are working. So to differentiate the work between different developers, we should have some different branches so that we can determine on which branch which developer is working, right? So we should have some dedicated branches belongs to a dedicated developer, okay, on which that developer can push their code, and after that it will be pushed to the main branch, which is the final code, right? So we will see how to create a branch, right? And after that we will start working on doing the changes. Okay, so let me go to the GitHub desktop. So you can see, so to clone a repository you need to click on file, clone repository. So before that you need the URL of that repository, right? You need a URL of that repository which you want to clone. For that you need to copy that URL from the repository. So you need to click on the code. So you can see one URL here, copy it, go to the GitHub desktop, go to the URL section, paste it and clone it. Alright, so you can see that repository name demo repo which we created here, having the main branch and the same branch you can see here. So let's say multiple developers are working. So let's say I am the developer. I want to create my own branch which will show my work. So I will click on the branch. I will say new branch and give it a name, feature developer developer 1, let's say. So whenever you create a branch, because there is no develop branch here, so it's not giving an option to choose from which branch you want to create this branch. So by default it will pick the main branch. So from main branch now it will create a feature branch, right? So if I click on the create branch, so you can see your new branch will be based on the currently checkout feature branch, main branch. Okay, so from main branch it will create this branch. I click on create. So after creating a feature branch, you can publish this branch to the GitHub. So if you click on publish, now if we reload it, you can see that feature branch has been created here. So whatever branch was available in our local, we created in our local as a developer. We pushed that branch into the cloud, into the GitHub hosting service. Okay, so you can see. Similarly, other developers also can create their branches in the local and publish those branches into the remote, so that everyone can see which developer is working on which branch. So that's the use of it. Okay, and it will based on the use case, it will separate the separate the work between the developers. If developer 1 got a different use case, developer 2 got a different use case, developer 3 got a different use case, so based on that they will create a different branches, okay, to work on those use cases, and in the end they will merge those changes into the main branch. So to see how this whole process works, I'm going to create one notepad file. From that I will show you how to push those changes, how to create a pull request, how to revert a code, everything. So let's say I got one task, I got one use case to create one notepad file, and in that notepad file you need to write your name. Okay, and that name I need to push into the main branch. Okay, for that let's get started in from our local. So you can see our feature branch. So to see, first of all we need to go to that location where the files are present for this particular branch. So if you hover over this repository, you can see this is present under whatever location it is present. You need to go to that location first. So in my case, I will go to this location. So as you can see, this location consists of that repository name. Okay, so now this repository, this code belongs to feature branch, because presently I am working on the feature branch and currently my feature branch is opened, you can see. Okay, so to understand the difference between main, so you might confuse between the main branch and feature branch, how these two will differ from each other. Then if both branches contains the same thing, how both will differ from each other, so that part I will show you. So you can see main branch also consists of the same changes. So if you remember, we are given with some tasks where we need to write a name, our name. Okay, so we will go to our branch where we need to work on that particular task to write a name, and there we will create a notepad file where we need to write that name. So let me add one notepad file where I need to write my name. Okay, so I will go to the notepad. I will write my name here. My name is Sushant. Okay, I will save it. Under which folder? This one, because the task we are given, we need to perform that task under this repository, so we need to paste that file here. Okay, so I will give it a file name. So I will go to this repository and create one file name named as name. So the file name is name, because other developers also needs to add their names, so I'm giving a file name as names. Okay, I will save it, and you can see the names file has been created. So if you open this names file, you can see the name is there. My name is Sushant. And now if you go to the GitHub desktop, you can see the changes. What changes are present in this branch? In this branch, the changes are my name is Nishant. Okay, so whatever task we are given with, we have achieved that task now in our branch developer 1. Okay, let's say the same task has been given to the developer 2. So that developer, at that moment, developer 2 will create their own branch. Let's say developer 2. So this branch will be created from the main branch, because main branch is the a parent branch for both these feature branches. Okay, so we will create it from the main branch where developer 2 will work. Okay, now it is saying one option, leave my changes on the developer 1 branch. Because I am acting like a developer 2, so I will leave my changes in the developer 1 branch, which is my branch as a developer. So just to explain you, I am going to create one different branch which is developer 2 to explain you how other developers will work. So I will leave my changes on the developer 1 branch. It will not impact anything. Whatever changes we did in the developer 1 branch, it will remain as it is. It will not get impacted. So I can leave my changes on developer 1 branch and switch my branch. Now you can see feature developer 2 branch has been created. Okay, in which developer 2 will be working. Now the same task has been given to the developer 2, that hey developer, you need to write your name. So same thing we will do. We will go to that repository location. Okay, so previously one file was there, names, but presently I can't see any file because we changed the branch to developer 2 on which developer 2 will be working. Okay, that's the reason. So let's say developer 2 also needs to write their name. Okay, so same thing I will do. I will go to the notepad. Developer 2 will write their name. My name is Abhi Sheikh. So developer 2 will save this file in the same location like developer 1 did. So I will give the file name as names, save it, and you can see the names file is there. So now you can see both developer has their changes. Okay, and they want to push their changes into the main repository, the parent repository, which is main branch. So how they will do? So for that they have to raise a pull request. So what is pull request? Pull request is nothing but a way using which other developers can see what changes you did in the code. What changes you did in the code. So it is nothing just to get the approval before pushing your changes to the main branch. Okay, so let's say you did some changes in the code in your branch and you want to push those changes into the parent branch, but if before pushing those changes to the main branch you need to get approval from some senior level architect or some of the developers who are working with you to just cross check whether whatever changes you did are correct or not, or will it impact any other code or not. So to be on the safe side, that's why we used to raise a pull request, show our changes to the other developers whether the coding we did is correct or not. So once we will get the approval, we push our changes to we will merge that branch to the main branch. Okay, so we will see how we can do that. So first I will publish this branch. Okay, so if we go to the, so you can see feature developer 2 has pushed latest changes less than a minute ago. So developer 2 has pushed their changes, right? So if I click on developer 2 branch, you can see names file is there where you can see developer 2 name is there. Similarly, I will push developer 1 changes, which is me. So because we shifted it to the developer 2 branch and we left our changes into the developer 1 branch, so how you can see those changes now? Where are my changes? You can see your changes are not there, but you can see your changes are present in the stash. So you need to click on the stashed changes, the changes which you left previously, then you need to restore your changes. Okay, and simply you need to commit. So commit happened in your local file, in your local repository. Now you want to push these changes into the remote repository, to the cloud platform where everyone can see your code. Okay, then you need to click on push origin. See, that's how easy it is. Okay, so you can see three branches: main branch, which is the parent branch, developer 1 branch, and the developer 2 branch. Developer 1 belongs to me, this branch belongs to me, and the developer 2 belongs to some other developer who is working on the same thing, same type of use case. So now if we go to the GitHub, okay, you can see, if we reload it, you can see developer 1 also has pushed their changes. Okay, so now you can see all the three branches are there. Developer 1 branch is also there, developer 2 branch is also there. So if you click on developer 1 branch, so now if you click on the names.txt, you can see my name. Okay, similarly, if you click on the developer 2 branch, click on the names.txt, other developer name is there. But if you check with the main branch, no file is there, no changes are there. So now, because this is the parent branch, this is the main code, you want to push your changes into this branch, but before that you need some approval from someone to check with the other developers whether the changes I did is correct or not, the coding standard which I did is correct or not, or my code in any sense will impact other codes or not. Okay, so to be on the safe side, always a best practice to have a pull request raised before merging your branch to the other branch. Okay, to merge your changes from developer 1 branch or developer 2 branch to the main branch, main code. So for that we will raise a pull request. Okay, so you can see a pull request option is there for both the branches. Okay, compare and pull request. Okay, so you can see they are able to merge. Okay, from developer branch 1 can easily merge into the main branch. So we will create, so because I am the only developer presently working on this, so we don't have a we are not having any reviewers, but you can request up to 15 reviewers. For now I will simply create one pull request without any reviewers because I am the only one who is working on this code. So you can see, okay, so you can see the option has been populated for merging that pull request. Because I haven't included any reviewers, so it is not showing any resistance that hey, you need some approval from someone, because I didn't added any reviewers. Okay, from where I can get the approval. So I will simply merge it. I will click on the merge, confirm merge, and it is merged. Okay, so now if we go to the repository and see, you can see in the main branch we have our changes. Developer 1 has pushed their changes, and the changes are my name is Sushant. You can see, right? Similarly, developer 2 also wants to push their changes. So developer 2 also will raise a pull request. So now you can see they can't automatically merged. Okay, why? Let me show you. Because they have conflicts. So in developer 1 also, like you can see, we have written my name is Sushant, and in developer 2 has also written my name is Abhishek. So my name is the common thing, but Abhishek and Sushant are the two different changes. So to resolve those two things, how we will merge? Because let's say if developer 2 will merge directly, it will override the developer 1 changes. So how we can resolve it? So we can resolve it by resolving the conflicts. So we will see how to resolve the conflicts. If you need to click on the main branch, whatever changes you have merged into the main branch, you need to pull those changes first from the remote. You can see one change is there from developer 1, which the developer 1 has been pushed previously. So we will pull those changes. Now we will merge feature developer 2 branch into the main branch. So how I did it? You need to click on branch, merge into current branch. Current branch is main, which is presently opened. Which branch you want to merge? Developer 2 branch we want to merge, because developer 1 is already merged. So developer 2 wants to merge, but it is not able to merge automatically. So there is a description here. There will be one conflicted file while merging this into main. So how to resolve this conflict? So developer 2 is facing issue while merging their changes from developer 2 branch into the main branch. Okay. So we will click on create merge commit. Okay. So we want to resolve this conflict, right? So you can see the two sentences are conflicting. My name is common, but this word is different in both the cases. So how we want to resolve this conflict? We want Sushant changes or Abhishek changes. How we can resolve it? So we will open it in Visual Studio Code and see what and all changes are there. So you can see in Visual Studio Code, it is clearly showing head consists of this change and feature developer 2 consists of this change. Okay, so how we want to resolve? You want a incoming change, you want current change, you want both the changes, okay, or you want to compare the changes. We want both the changes. So simply you need to click on here, accept both the changes. So you can see both sentences are included now, right? So we will simply save it, Control S. Now if we go to the GitHub desktop, the conflicts are resolved. No conflict is there. Now we can easily merge developer 2 branch into the main branch. Now we will click on continue merge and push these changes into the GitHub. Okay. Now if we go to the GitHub, if we reload it, okay, so see, no changes are there between two branches because developer 2 branch is already merged with main branch. We already pushed those changes here. So now if we go to the demo repository, see, now in under main branch, if we open this file names.txt, you will see both the changes are there. So from this, I think everyone clearly understood how to raise a pull request, how to create a branch, how to merge those changes. So how to work with the different developers. If different developers are working on the same code, how to resolve conflicts. Okay. So after this, we are going to cover one more last topic, which is how you can revert those changes back. So this is going to be the last topic where we will understand how to revert the commits which we did previously. So GitHub Desktop provides a very easy functionality to do this. So you just go to the history, you have to go to the history. So whatever commit you did previously, if you want to revert that commit, you just simply have to right click here, revert changes in the commit, and simply click on push origin. That's it. If you go here now in the GitHub, click on the demo repository, click on the developer 1 branch, you can see that file is no longer present because we have reverted the commits. So GitHub Desktop provides a very easy functionality to do this. So I hope you understand this session. Thanks everyone. See you soon.